This is the Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gouget. Actionable advice from real-life superheroes who, just like you, are in relentless pursuit of the best version of themselves. Whether you're just getting started or have been at it for years, my hope is that this podcast injects you with some positive energy to continue doing what brings you joy. Join me as I interview the best of the best in business, sports, and life. Let's grow together. Get Better Everyday podcast with Matt Gouget. Excited to have my buddy Jonathon Haddad on today, talking about getting better every day through thick and thin, through great markets and not so great markets. You're here to win and you're here to get better every day, Jonathon. Thanks for joining, brother.
And thank you for having me, man. I've been following you for some time, especially your presence, the way you are, the way you communicate with your family. You really show your authentic self. So I really appreciate you having me on.
Cool, man. I'm looking forward to a conversation a little bit about what you've got going on, what you're doing, and how you're leading your family and your team and everything you're doing. So let's get started there. Maybe like, who is Jonathon Haddad? You know, what are you currently up to? What led you to this, and a little bit about the backstory.
Yes, sir. I'll give it to you in a nice little nutshell here. So I am a first generation Middle Eastern. Both my parents born in the Middle East. My mom had me when she was 18 years old, and both my parents did not finish college, but they came here. My dad got a very awesome opportunity to become one of the first Arabic singers in the United States. He got a very lucky break one day, and it was amazing. It turned into something incredibly special. And then they had me, thank God, very fortunate to be here today. Grew up in the suburbs here in Michigan, Canton, Michigan. As I got a little older, with my parents being first generation, one of the things, or with me being first generation, one of the things that gets missed a lot with our families is, they don't teach us about like compound interest, financial literacy. Not their fault, by the way. My dad just didn't know. He didn't learn that from back home, right? You're not taught that. So my dad ran into a couple of issues. And, by the time I was 12 years old, I started working. I started working to help out. I helped my parents quite a bit. I bought them their first home when I turned 23 years old, which will kind of tie into the mortgage business and how I got there. So I was actually attending college. And one of these days during college, I was like, okay, I got to help my family out. I got to take care of them. I got to figure something out here. So what am I going to do? So I started bartending, had a blast, loved it, loved the bartending life for obvious reasons. I won't mention them here, but 18-year-old kid, just excited about life and being able to pour drinks for people. And I got to really learn about myself, interacting with people consistently. So as that's occurring, I'm trying to go to college. I'm trying to go do this. And I said, okay, my parents really need me right now. So I dropped out and I went full-time as a bartender, learned a lot, made a lot of money. And I remember I was like, you know what, 20 years old, I said, okay, I got to figure something out. Like, I don't want to be, bartend forever. I heard all the stories are like, hey, if you bartend, nothing wrong with it, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. But I was like, I want to do something a little different. I want to get outside of my shell. So I was like, let me just go back to school, figure it out. So right before I sign up for school, this guy walks into my bar dressed super sharp. I'm talking Rolex, the Burberry scarf, the Ferragamo belt. Now, as a 20-year-old man, okay, let me just tell you guys, that excited me, right? Like, that got me hyped up and ready to go. He pulls me aside. I took great care of him. And he says, how much money do you make? And I said, what are you talking about? Like, that's a weird question. He said, how much money do you make? So I told him, and then he's like, you want to make triple? I said, what do you need me to do? So he said, okay, here's an opportunity. So I started at a massive retail shop, and I started there at 21 years old, and I exploded. I absolutely erupted. My first full month as a banker at this retail shop, I did 40 loans. I helped 40 clients into homes. And then I got into leadership after 10 months. So at 22 years old, I got directly into leadership, and it's just been growing and growing and growing. I spent 7 years there roughly. And then I went to California, lived there for 1 year, lived in Westwood. And then all of a sudden my 1 year was ready to go. And I said, okay, ready to get back in the game, join the broker world. Now I'm the president of Nextdoor Lending. And this journey has been just absolutely incredible. And it's just worked its way all in, and it all meshes, and it's who I am as a human being. And it's just exciting to be a part of it every day, especially right now when it's challenging. People need good leaders. And I love the opportunity to get in front of people and showcase to them, here's what I believe a good leader should look like. Give me the opportunity to lead you through this. And it's been an awesome, awesome journey. In 3 short years, we have amassed over 700 Google reviews as a company here at Nextdoor Lending. And on top of that, we have brought on over 10 branches already. with Next Door Lending. And then we also have roughly about 92 loan officers in total with our branches and our inside sales. So that's my quick 10 years, hopefully in a nutshell for you, but it's been awesome, man.
Yeah, I love it, man. I can just tell the energy, and this is something that excites me. I'm not too much older than you, but I'm 42, so I probably have you by a decade.
Yep.
And knowing what I know about kind of the demographics of real estate and mortgage on the professional side, like we need the young energy. We need the Jonathon Haddads of the world who are just like, I'm here to serve people. I want to help, and I'm going to grow something big that serves clients at a high level. Something you said that I want to pick out for the audience, because I think it's important and it aligns with my mission. My mission is to empower people through education. And you spoke on something that I also am passionate about, like the immigrant story. My wife, first generation here, has Yugoslavian parents and grandparents, and like being in California, a really diverse part of the country, like endless immigrant stories, endless friends who are immigrants, and I love the hustle that seems to be ingrained with some people who found the United States of America as a place to land as their family. And when you talked about the fact that I didn't learn financial education, I didn't learn of this, it wasn't taught to me. Well, I understand that's true. And my wife will hound me. She's just like, pretend like you're talking to my grandma, like talk to clients in a way that they can understand. But you know what came to mind, Jonathon, when you were talking about that? Like people who were born in the United States, people who are, 10th generation Americans don't understand a lick of financial literacy. So I think that it's like really great and important to say, like, different backgrounds, different demographics, first generation, second generation, but as a whole, like we're missing in this country on financial literacy, being taught from a young age. I think, and I hope that some of the education system is starting to put some of this stuff in place, because you hear about things here and there, but for the vast majority of people, they don't know how to, balance a checkbook, let alone run a P&L or manage their family finances. And so I know that there's high level loan officers that, could quite honestly run circles around financial advisors. And when it comes to like the family finances, we're intimate with people about that, because we have to be. Like that's how you qualify for a mortgage. And so the fact that that is something that you're passionate about, partly because of your background, and then I'm sure like the satisfaction you get from helping somebody and like putting somebody on a better path. What more I think would you want to add there as far as like financial literacy and helping people out there?
Honestly, you talked about the mission, right? Your mission and what you want to do. And I always share this because he's the most incredible human being I've ever got to meet. And I wish so many other people got to meet and they don't. My mentor passed away a bit ago. Oh my God, the beautiful soul. When I tell you the type of guy that you give a hug to, and it feels like you're hugging like you're a grandparent, for those of you that still have him around, that feeling that you get, that's who he was. And let me tell you something that he taught me about like impacts. He said, Jonathon, whether you like it or not, one day you're going to have to look back on your life, and it's either going to be good or not so good. And the beautiful part is you get to make that choice every day. And man, when he hit me with that, and after he passed away, like it sits in my head, because I have my days, brother. Like I have my days. I'm not always this energetic, ready to go, right? I got my depression. I deal with my issues. I deal with all of that. But here's what I do know. I know I'm going to look back one day. I want to have kids, God willing. I want to have grandkids, God willing. You know what? I want to be able to look them in the eye and not have to lie to them about how my life was. I want to be able to look them in the eye and tell them I did what I needed to do, and I had the most incredible life, and I'm going to teach you how to do the exact same thing. And I'm sorry I get a little emotional talking about it, but this guy is something you don't even understand, man. And I just wanted to share that, because that is the message. And it's all about that financial literacy piece. That all ties in, because the impacts that I'm making has a lot to do with the journey that I want to have for my own life. And that's why this is something I'm so passionate about. I won't mention much now, but we're building out technology to help with financial literacy. It's incredibly high level. We'll be sharing over the next few months, but it's something near and dear to my heart. And I appreciate you even giving me the chance to even talk about it and talk about my mentor and give his praises, because he's been nothing but the best influence on my entire life.
Yeah. I like that a lot, dude. And for sure, it's something I think about all the time. I remember, championship years in mortgage, 20 and 21. And, there's money raining from the sky. And I realized that like the impact you have on people and the trajectory that you can change in a family's story in their life far outweighs any monetary gains that this business will ever give you. And so I remember hearing it somewhere and I adopted it as my own. Like, I'm no longer chasing income, I'm chasing impact. And I think that, like, you don't even have to tell me, brother. Like, I already know that's your mission too, right? It's impact. It's like Jonathon Haddad, when it's all over, they're going to look back at me, man, that guy, he was a hell of a guy. He was a hell of a leader. He had an influence on a lot of people and made a difference in people's lives. That's far, like, no one's going to go back and look at your bank accounts and be like, well, he had the nicest Rolls Royce. And like, look, he still had all this money left in his bank account that, like, you know, the trust is going to distribute over the next 30 years. All that stuff is far less important than like the Jones family, the Smith family, the Patel family. Like, their lives were changed because of impact you made. So I love that. What I really want to do with this podcast, and really is like the birth of this podcast, is help people who might be struggling. And you mentioned something, right? You said, I've got days where I'm depressed, where I'm struggling. I've openly shared my story where, you know, I struggled with addiction and, you know, am like blessed and so like grateful every single day because of the fact that I'm not where I was 11 years ago, which was dead in my driveway. So what can you share with people about, you know, struggle and going through struggle? Because I know this is going to land with some people, and it's nice to talk about success and growing companies and all that other stuff. But I think it's probably more impactful to say, listen, like, Matt's a normal dude who struggles. Jonathon's a normal dude who struggles. What do you do when it's tough, when it's hard, when you're a 12-year-old immigrant who's got to go to work because the family's struggling?
You know what, man? I've just actually started getting comfortable sharing this. So you're actually asking at the perfect time, because I've now been just more comfortable sharing. So, you know, something that a lot of people don't know about me, and I mean, the more I share, the more people know. So I'm diagnosed bipolar. Not like Jekyll and Hyde bipolar, which, you know, people struggle with. I'm more manic. So I have very high highs. I have very low lows. When my highs are high, I mean, I am humming, I'm ready to go. When my lows are low, they're very bad. And you know, here's what I'll tell you. They put me on medication about 6 years ago. They put me on medication. They said, hey, this will help. This will help. So I said, okay, let me try it. So I started taking the meds. And all of a sudden, about 6 months in, I lost myself, right? I enjoyed those highs. I just didn't understand them. Now I did, because I finally had somebody that was teaching me. So after a year being on it, I said, I can't do this. I said, I cannot do it. I said, I need to get off. I guarantee you I can find a way to control it without it. And that's exactly what happened. So I had to wean off of it. And I now can control that emotion. It's very difficult. And I know when it's happening, and that's the biggest difference for me. So here's what I'll tell people that struggle. And thank you for sharing about your addiction, because everybody thinks it's glitz and glamour. Everybody thinks it's all smiles. Like, here's what I'm going to tell everybody that watches this. My goal right now, I'm trying to give other people permission to smile, because you don't know how hard it was for me to put on the smile every day. And I get emotional thinking about it, because people don't understand, right? They just think this is how I was, this is how I am. It's not the case. But every single day, I want to give someone else permission that has something similar to me to get up and smile. Is it harder for me some days? It is. But here's what I won't do anymore. I promise you. And I used to think to myself, why am I different? Why is this? I'm feeling this way. I don't want to get out of bed. What's going on? Here's the difference now. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Guys, nobody cares, because at the end of the day, you're the only person that has control of it. And the second I let it go and accepted the fact that, hey, you know what? Let me learn how to use this as a superpower. So when I am manic and I got that like high state going, dude, I attack. But when I'm low and it happens, you know what I do? I tell people about it now. Like, I tell my family, hey, I need a couple days to myself. I'm sorry, I'm not replying to you. I tell my other partners, I talk them through it. Hey guys, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be myself today. I can't really do this presentation today. And they understand. And that was something I was so afraid of, because I was so afraid people were going to use it against me. And for those of you that struggle, just know there are people out there that want to help you, and they're not going to use it against you. I swear to you, they won't. I have some of the best people in my life, and I wouldn't have known unless I asked. And I'm sure, Matt, it was the same thing for you with addiction, where you were afraid to tell people. You don't want people to know. You're trying to hide it. And then all of a sudden you realize, wait, I have a support system around me. Why not leverage it and use it? And so that's my story. And I know there are people out there that are in spots where they need medication. So please, I do understand that. This is something that worked for me. I understand it doesn't work for anybody, but there is a way, there is a will to get it done. And I swear to you, you can get better every single day by just focusing on what you can focus on.
Yeah, I love that, brother. And I appreciate you sharing. What I came to realize with my own story was the more I share it, the more I'm vulnerable. I give other people permission. And then you start to realize, holy cow, every day you walk by people that have a story. Like, I would have had no idea. I literally had a conversation with a guy in the gym who, when I opened up about my story, said, Matt, you haven't seen me here for 3 months. I've been struggling. I relapsed.
Wow.
I haven't been able to tell anybody. I had a gun in my mouth 3 days ago. I was going to take my own life. Like, that's what people are struggling with behind closed doors. And like, I want to implore people like you have, like, share your story. Everybody has a story. Everybody's walking around imperfect with their own struggles, their own demons. And the more we realize, like, man, we're all human. We all struggle. Let's not hide it, right? Let's share it and give other people permission. I had another thing recently that really just, got me emotional, like I am now, right? Like we're both,
I know,
we're both cutting onions right now, brother, and I love it. But I had somebody who reached out to me. They had heard through my wife, who was friends with their wife, and hey, go talk to Matt. He's been through some struggle and he's doing really well. And somebody comes in my office and he just shares his story, and I'm just there to listen. And I'm there to say, I get it. I've been deep, right? And I've known what it feels like to have no idea how to get out of this hole. 2 weeks ago, he comes in my office. Matt, I wasn't ready that day, but that hour conversation we had started something, started me thinking about and working towards. He said, as of today, I'm 18 months clean and sober.
Man.
And he was like, I got my mojo back. I can't tell you, like, I've expressed this to him, and I'm going to remind him again, like, that meant so much to me. Back to your story about impact and whatnot, like, when it's all done for us, that story matters more than like any monetary thing, any fucking plane I can buy, right? Like that's the type of stuff where, for him, for his wife, for his kids, for his grandkids, for all the generations, he made it, right? He made it out. He turned a corner, and trajectory is different. So I think that, this is the most important of all the stories to tell. And this is why I love, like, me and you started this by saying, we're just going to see where this conversation leads, right? I don't know if we're going to talk about dominating the mortgage industry and technology and educating people financially at scale. It happened to go this direction, and I'm super glad it did. And thanks for being so open about it. As far as business pursuits and things like that, like, what can you tell me what you guys are doing? Next door lending, and I know we're not necessarily competitors, right? We're both in the broker space, and we're both building cool stuff individually. What are you working on there to get better every day?
You know what? That's a super good question. So I actually started, I got into technology quite a bit. So I've learned a lot about coding and APIs, and I've been taking classes and just trying to teach myself. One of the things I want to focus on now is making myself irreplaceable. And even though I own the company, that's not the point. The point is, like, I need to do that for myself internally. And is it difficult? It is, because my days start, at 4 or 5 a.m. every single day. I got to make sure, I'm regimented. I got to make sure everything is dialed in for me to execute on what I have to execute on, especially because of how busy we have been getting. Here's what I'll tell you about getting better every day, right? It's all about what you put into it, and making sure you have the same energy when you were doing well, and have that same exact energy, even more energy, when it's a little bit tougher. And right now it is, right? Let's just be honest. We have some LOs that aren't doing as good as they want to be doing compared to last year. So that hurts, right? You feel for that. You want them to do well. We're there. We're coaching. We're in their corners. We're helping them out. We're talking to clients. We're hitting the streets. We're talking to realtors. We're doing on presentations. We're doing more. We're doing more. And here's the part about it that I absolutely love with my other business partners. We're investing into the company consistently. We don't care. We're not pulling back. We will live and die by this sword, because we know it's the right thing to do for our people, for our company. Is every day perfect? No, it's not. But we're not going to stop marketing. We're not going to stop technology. We're going to keep going in. We're going to keep posting every single day. We're going to hold each other accountable. We're not going to make excuses. And the biggest difference right now, Matt, especially in the industry that we're in, you got to be real with yourself, like you talked about earlier. eyeball to eyeball conversations. Are you sure you want to do this? Right? Are you positive? Because it's going to be very hard. You're going to work harder than you've ever worked to make less money than you made the last 2 years. Are you good with that? And if your answer is no, you got to check yourself at the door, get rid of your ego, because that's what business we're in. We're commission sales, baby. So get used to it, figure it out. I'm here to support you every step of the way. I got your back, but I need you committed, just as committed as I am.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is I love it. It's like the same mentality I hear from everybody who's winning right now. Like they're real with the fact that, like, because this stuff, can go in cycles, and we've got 2.5% interest rates making like the market just flood with mortgage applications, and 7 million real estate sales is an inflated number. We'll get back to a 4 million sales in 2023. It'll be more normal, but people are soon to forget, like, oh yeah, it used to take some work to get business, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell people, like you do, if you like, I'm going to work 3 times as hard for half of the money. I know it. I'm fine with it. And I'm probably going to like lean towards working 4 times as hard, because I know that like it's going to be foundational in the years where it's the hardest, because only the winners will survive. Only the winners will stick around. And then come 2024, 25, 26, we're gonna be able to have an impact on that many more people, because we've built, a rock solid foundation in a market where everything wasn't given. It was earned. And I think that that's something, that should apply to the masses in terms of getting better every day, whether you're doing mortgage or real estate or software sales, anything, right? Like if you're truly adding value, then you've earned the right to get business. But like, you shouldn't be able to just print out business cards and walk around and say, this is what I do now. Give me a call. I'm happy to help. No, like you provide true value. You hold seminars where you teach real estate agents how to better serve investor clients. You do, social media, if that's your thing, or you do, belly to belly calls, like you talked about, phone calls, whatever it is, but you're adding true value to the market. That's what rewards you. I've never met somebody who didn't add immense value to the market and didn't get rewarded for it.
Dude, and you're so spot on too. The thing we've been talking about, it's about perspective. I think perspective is a massive, massive key to life, right? Understanding about, okay, what is it actually like? I mean, think about it. Even those new LOs that came in the game during COVID, right? And it exploded on that end of it. It's like, guys, listen, you haven't been doing this long, but you had 2 good years, 2 very good years. And everyone's saying it's only 12 months. So you got 24 months of greatness, 12 months of listen, it's not great. It's not terrible. It's right in between. All you got to do is figure out a way to get it done for 12 months, and then you can ride that wave again. So like get it in your mind that you just got to bunker down, put that damn head down, and figure out how to get through the next 12 months. That's it. And here's the beautiful part. As stressed out as you are, I promise you guys, you're going to get through it one way or another. You're going to get through it. You always have, you always will, and you'll continue to do so. I know it's hard to do that sometimes, even for me, but that's the truth and that's the reality. So give yourself some perspective, man. Give it to yourself. You owe it to yourself. You worked hard.
Right. And that's the thing too, is that, for anybody in any walk of life looking to get better every day, health, wealth, relationship, whatever the case may be, like you have the choice. And you said this earlier, like every single day, how you show up. And if you're afraid about tough economic times or something happened in your industry where it's harder to make money, or there's layoffs, like the best of the best who are providing value will always succeed no matter what. And like that's a business kind of way to look at it, but it works the same in health, right? If you're doing everything, and staying on course, on plan to get to 190 pounds, which by the way is what I'm going to do in Q1, then it's going to happen, right? Like no external forces are going to stop me from going from 206 to 190, because I've got a plan and I'm going to execute on the plan no matter what, no matter who's president, no matter what happens with California politics, no matter how many parties I get invited to where there's nice, good food, right? Like I was at a realtor breakfast yesterday, and I forgot. I'm like, I'm consistently intermittent fasting, not eating till 12, not eating after 7, and 10:30, everybody lines up for a buffet. And it's a beautiful spread, Masters Club, you know, Placer County Association of Realtors. And I'm in this party environment and I go, oh yeah, I don't eat until 12. And it's like, if you stick to it, right? I didn't do it. It wasn't like, oh, I'm here, I can do it now. Or, you know, the same thing applies there that applies to business, right? If you're like, I'm going to make 50 calls per week, I'm going to do this many presentations, I'm going to add value in this way and that. If you stick to it, you succeed. It's just inevitable. So I think we align in a lot of ways, man. And I appreciate having you on here, dude. Anything you want to say kind of in closing?
You know what? I mean, first of all, thank you. Honestly, bottom of my heart, like, yeah, I've seen your videos and stuff, and you always seem like a great guy in the videos, but like talking to you in person, it's just it's a different feeling, right? So it's like, it's super cool because you do, I can feel it in your soul, man. I really can, even through the phones. And I hope to God I get to meet you in person, because that'd be an awesome opportunity. But here's what I will say to you folks out there. You know, one of the things I'm gonna tell you guys is, and I'll end you with this, is, you know, don't shame yourself. It's very easy to have that internal voice in your head, for those that have that internal voice, to talk yourself down. You are setting yourself up for failure. That negative connotation does nothing good for you. So stop shaming yourself, especially right now. Find a way to put good thoughts in your head. And if you can't, find somebody that will, because I promise you they're there. Don't tell me they're not. They're all over the place. You got two right here. Don't shame yourself and focus on what you control. And I promise you guys, stop being so worried. We're going to figure it out. I know it's tough. I know you got to put food on your family's table, but you got this. You're going to figure it out. Don't shame yourself. You got a lot of support in our community to take care of you guys.
I love it, man. Thanks again, brother. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you.